Hello and welcome fellow motorsports fans. It's been a brilliant week of racing and as always I'm here to tell you all about it. In fact, it was the last week of racing for the single-seater year, so the perfect time to reflect on all the final rounds of a few F4 series or also the start of a new F4 series, which is what we're going to start with. The Saudi F4 Championship has begun with its trophy round at the Bahrain circuit. And yeah, it's been pretty good. Now, they didn't quite do what they said just a week ago and actually get a grid of 20 cars. That didn't quite materialize for the trophy round. I think it was 13, I want to say, competitors. So not quite the grid size they were hoping for. But first of all, a pretty decent grid quality, I'd say, with Al Rifai, Oscar Wurz, Suleiman Sanfari, the Al-Kubaisi sisters, and reigning OK karting world champion Kirill Kutskov making his debut, which I was very excited about as well. So a decent grid. Also, the 4-race format I think worked quite well, and I think that should be a good thing going forward for like a winter series. Keep costs down, do more races at one track or one weekend. So I love all of that. The racing itself was good as well, I have to say. We had a few really exciting races. Sort of the main talking points were Oscar Wurz displaying fantastic racecraft at multiple occasions, except for I think race 2 where he did get into an incident on that one. All the other races he's had a few fantastic moves. There's been a like half a lap long side-by-side battle for the lead in one of them. And then also a very opportunistic move to take P3. I think that was race 3, yeah, where he got a double overtake done to steal like the final podium position. So really good, not just in terms of raw pace, probably not the quickest drive out there, but fantastic racecraft from young Oscar. The other big players were Zanfari. Really, he technically looked like the class of the field, but he's been really unlucky. He had some sort of issue in race 1 and then another problem in race 3 which cost him a win. So he is a lot quicker than those results make it seem, but then again, now is expected for a guy with his experience, I'd say. I think he about did what we'd expect from him. RFI was really solid, really good job, not much to say about him. The interesting ones were the Al-Kubaisi sisters for me, because the power dynamic there was a bit different. Amna was I don't want to say the quicker one, but at the very least she could keep up with Hamda this time around, which is a bit unusual for the duo. Although it comes with the caveat that the format wasn't really explained, but as far as I know, it's like very basically all the races are just reverse grid aside from race 1. So Amna also started in the more favorable position quite a few times. So make of that what you will, but I was quite impressed with her performance. And then Hamda also just with that P2 in one of the races. So really solid drive from her. Obviously, she is like one of those really good benchmark F4 drivers to me, where we know she is good. She lacks the, I don't know, obviously her attempt at stepping up didn't work out, but in an F4 car, she is proper quick and can compete against men. So if you are convincingly faster than her, you're probably pretty good in an F4 car. So that was nice. And then, yeah, last but not least, the Kutskov debut. Obviously, maybe not quite what we could have hoped for, but then again, I mean, he is the karting world champion, but don't get fooled by that. He wasn't exactly the strongest. He's not in my top 5 of karting guys stepping up this year, which is a topic I will cover in a video very shortly. But he's easily top 10 of the guys stepping up this year. Very good kid, and his debut went all right. Not setting the world on fire by any means, but also not shitting the bed, just good midfield scrapping. Maybe struggling a little bit with the racecraft at times, but also didn't get into incidents. So yeah, either way, pretty good, pretty solid debut. Think of like Alex Powell in his Italian F4 debut, that kind of level, I guess. Yeah, alright, that's it for the Saudi round. I'm really looking forward to the season starting properly next year, and then also to see where the series develops, and I hope it stays around for years to come as a different winter opportunity next to the UAE F4. So yeah. Then we had the final round of Brazilian F4. Now for context, I don't watch Brazilian F4 normally, so this was I've watched one of the rounds this year, but yeah, I don't keep up with I don't watch it. I only keep up with it a little bit, but it did entertain despite the mediocre grid size with only like 12 or 13 cars. So again, not the most stacked grid ever, but we still had a few convincing drives, mainly by champion Tesaro. He had a fantastic one in race 1 with a late race overtake on Lopez to take the lead and the win. That was really good. Unfortunately, he got collected in race 2 early on, but still managed to win the championship because Comparato only finished down in P4, so it was enough for Tesaro to clinch the title while retired. So fair enough. He looked like a class act in that first race. In the third race, he didn't really impress me at all. He just lacked the pace to keep up with the guys ahead. I don't know if there's any particular reason for that, of course, or if he just didn't need to bother anymore, which is fair, obviously. But just to put this out there, so he didn't look super dominant in that race. In fact, Comparato was quite strong. Overall, the grid looked pretty tight, except for Rebello was a bit bad, and then I think please don't blame me for the pronunciation. Machado, that guy, the guy down in P12. Some of them weren't great, but for the most part, the mid-pack was very tight, so at least the series, the drivers looked to be pretty competitive amongst each other, I'd say. We had a maiden victory for the guy just named Zucchini, so that was good. And also a maiden podium, although both in the reverse grid race, just keep that in mind, a maiden podium for Rafaela Ferreira, a female, the quicker of the two female drivers in the series. And yeah, I don't know, obviously her full season results don't seem like anything special, but I have to say her performance over this weekend was really good. She looked rather competitive. Interested to see where that goes in the future. It's only her first year in cars, so maybe she is one of those more interesting female prospects out there. Who knows? Okay, and then last but not least, with current series running, again, another series finished is the Indian F4. Once again, I did not get to watch the races because they just stopped broadcasting them. But I think we sort of get the pattern now anyway. It's a bit same old, same old. Cooper Webster very much looks like the guy to beat on this grid. Kept getting wins again with another double win and another podium. So very, very convincing champion. Really, for this championship, the story for me, there's, aside from Webster, there's two, which is the level of the locals, and then crucially the level of Akshay Bora, who I have just been a little underwhelmed by, I have to say. Now, obviously, if you look at this, he's still getting podiums almost every race. He's still very much like an undeniable top 3 on the grid. But just coming into this, based on what he's shown in the Italian F4, I would have expected him to run away with the series, more or less. Or, I mean, Webster was difficult to assess, so fair enough. Losing to Webster is fine, I think. But, yeah, I would have expected him to definitely win more than one fucking race over a, what is that, like 16 race series. So, just very bizarre. But then again, on the other hand, this means actually the local talent, as in not racing outside of India before, really did impress. Rajiv, who I do remember from the first round, the one that we could actually watch, he seems to have improved quite a bit over the time. And yeah, actually clinched P2 in the championship, so that's fantastic. And then same for this young bloke here. He is, I believe, like Indian karting champion and really young and everything, so another one with potential. And yeah, Alex Sawyer, I hope, I don't know, also got a win, also got a few podiums, always seem to be in the mix. So like this top 5 here, at the very least, looks to be quite competitive. And yeah, I really hope we find some of these drivers internationally at some point, because they look like they've got the potential to do that. Okay, now then, time to get into some of the roster news. There's been a bunch of F3 related announcements over the week. We're not going to talk about those now, just because, I mean, almost half the grid is announced, and then together with what we know from testing, it feels like we know the entire grid now, so that would be a very, very long segment. I'd rather do that in a separate video, but we can talk about just some smaller bits and pieces of news. One of which that stood out to me was Santaloc, obviously coming back to, returning to Spanish F4 next year. Obviously the winning team with Teofinal, so known to provide a quick car, and they have announced their roster for next year, and it's a pretty interesting one. First of all, Matteo Quintarelli, don't care. He's been quite awful in Italian F4. Now, caveat, he's had a bad car. He's had a really bad car. But he also still got smashed by Naraka, I believe his teammate was. So, yeah, whatever. It's they probably know more than I do, but I don't see this going anywhere meaningful. Then there is, David Yevon, whatever David his surname is. Seen him around in karting over the year. Not hugely impressive, but whenever I've seen him, he's been at least up there. He's not an also-ran by any means. So I am looking forward to see what he can do. Also, Sri Lankan, just I don't know. I'm a sucker for unconventional nationalities competing, so fair enough. I'll be rooting for him. And then we have Maxi Restrepo, who has actually had a pretty interesting season this year, but yeah, I'm also not super high on him. So in general, I feel like this roster feels like a step down from this year. I don't think they've got a Nell character in there, but yeah, who knows? Maybe David could be actually one to be a surprise package over the full season. Restrepo also, the journey's still out on him, but just yet, Quintarelli I don't see going anywhere. Okay, now we've talked about top 5 karting drivers stepping up. If there is one and he's not Kutskov, it's this bloke. It's René Lammers, reigning European OK champion. And what a year he's had in karting. And fantastic. Yeah, they do put it properly here. Karting superstar. Yeah, that's one way to put it. He truly is. Kid's been rapid all year, longer than this year, obviously. So I am very excited to finally see him step up. He'll be driving for MP, so he's going to be competitive. He's got a car underneath him to go for the championship. At the very least, I'd expect him to be like a Delaney character, so without all the crazy antics at the end of the year. So as in, I think worst, I'd expect him to fight really hard for the rookie title. At best, I'd expect him to just fight for the title, period. Depends on the rest of the grid, really. But, and how quickly he transitions to cars, obviously it can vary, but I would expect great things from the kid. Similar, one of his new teammates also stepping up from the same karting category, Gladish. I'm not going to bother with that first name. He's had a year to forget, really. Not terrible, don't get me wrong, but just not fighting for the wins or the podiums that he would have maybe hoped for. Then again, the entire Tony Kart squad has been, struggling in the category, so it's difficult to pinpoint what's going on. I don't think maybe this year his performance over the year isn't quite reflective of who he is as a driver, but at the same time, I'm not nowhere near as excited as I am about Lammers. Nevertheless, he's certainly one of those names that you should have an eye on next year in the Spanish F4. He could, at the very least, be one to surprise, let's put it that way. Okay, staying with MP, obviously if they bring in a bunch of new guys into Spanish F4, someone's got to leave, and Valerio Rinicella will finally leave at Spanish F4 and step up to Freca. I really like Rinicella. I think he is always... Yeah, he just doesn't... he seems to just lack that final bit to actually fight for like a championship. This year as well, like he can go for wins, he can rack up podiums consistently, but yeah, just not quite enough. Just doesn't seem to quite have what it takes to actually win things. Nonetheless, I think he's a really quick kid. He's also just one of the, like, he's consistent enough. He doesn't get into a bunch of accidents or anything. So like very fun and reliable to watch in that sense. So I am very much looking forward to his run in Freca next year. And then last but not least, another bit of Freca news is Roman Andriolo stepping up to Freca as well with G4 Racing. G4 obviously been a bit of a mixed bag, but they can provide winning packages, so certainly a good squad to end up in. And Andriolo is one of the more exciting guys coming out of the French F4. He's sort of like in what I would characterize the second tier below the top three, but one of the really exciting prospects anyway. Also a race winner, not too many of those to go around. So yeah, looking forward to see what he can do once he gets into a faster car. All around, Freka as always is... Man, that entry list is mouth-watering, isn't it? If only the cars could actually race each other, what a series that could be. Yeah, I think that's it for the week. As I said, I'll be back next week. At some point there will be a video about top 5 karting drivers stepping up, so if you're interested in that, make sure to subscribe so you won't miss it. And yeah, otherwise we are just going to keep talking about all sorts of driver moves and switching teams and season predictions for next year, so don't you worry, there will always be some more racing to talk about. Anyway, that's it for the week, and I'll see you all in the future. Bye bye.